The sun had just started rising over the quiet, rolling fields of Lancaster County. Mist clung to the tall corn stalks like a secret the land wasn't ready to give up. Birds chirped faintly, cows groaned in the barns, and all across the valley, the Amish community was beginning its day. No alarms, no phones, just the rhythm of nature and hard work. Eli, a 17-year-old Amish boy with straw blonde hair and shy blue eyes, hitched the family's black buggy to their trusted old horse, Maple. He had just finished loading fresh vegetables in the cart, green beans, tomatoes, and bundles of corn wrapped in twine. He was headed to the roadside stand, like every Thursday morning. His family didn't have much, but what they grew was pure, healthy, and real. Eli had never left Lancaster, never touched a phone, never dreamed beyond the barns and fields. As he trotted along the dirt path, humming a hymn under his breath, he noticed something strange by the edge of the main road. A sleek, black luxury car, low to the ground, shiny like obsidian, sat tilted awkwardly, its front tire flat and rim kissing gravel. Steam puffed from under the hood. A man stood next to it, pacing. He wore a suit too expensive for this part of the world. His shoes probably cost more than Eli's buggy. Eli slowed down, pulled on Maple's reins, and came to a stop near the broken-down car. He didn't speak yet. Amish boys were raised to be respectful, not intrusive. The man glanced up, visibly frustrated. He had a short beard, dark skin, and a Bluetooth headset stuck to his ear. But there was no signal out here, and his phone might as well have been a rock. "You all right, sir?" Eli finally asked, his voice soft but confident. The man looked startled for a moment, then scoffed. "Flat tire. No spare. No signal. AAA won't come out this far. And I've got a meeting in Philly in 2 hours." Eli tilted his head. "I got a jack back home. Some tools too. Won't be fancy, but might help." The man squinted at him. "You got a jack?" "In that buggy." Eli smiled faintly. "Not in the buggy, but I can be back in 15 minutes. Less if Maple's feeling spunky." The man blinked, then let out a tired laugh. "Sure, kid. What choice do I have?" Eli turned the buggy around without another word and trotted back down the road. Dust curled behind him. The man, still stranded, shook his head. He didn't know that the boy who just left would change his life. Eli didn't rush, but Maple seemed to sense urgency in his reins. She picked up speed, hooves tapping like soft hammers on the gravel road. Within 10 minutes, Eli was back at the family shed, digging through old tools his father rarely used anymore. A rusted jack, a lug wrench that had seen better days, a wooden block for leverage. He wrapped them all in an old flour sack and tossed it in the back of the buggy. His mother poked her head out the kitchen window, flour on her cheeks. "Eli, were you off to in such a hurry?" "Englishman's got a flat by the blacktop," Eli answered. "Thought I'd help." She nodded, wiping her hands on her apron. "You be careful. Worldly folks got their own troubles." "I know." Back at the broken-down car, the man was sitting on the hood, arms crossed, looking annoyed at the clouds. When he saw Eli return, his eyebrows lifted slightly. "Didn't think you'd come back." "Didn't see no reason not to," Eli said simply, climbing down from the buggy. He laid the tools out neatly on the ground. The jack creaked. The car groaned. But together, they got the vehicle lifted, and Eli set to work on the tire bolts. It wasn't smooth. Eli's hands were calloused from hay bales and fence posts, not lug nuts. But he didn't complain, didn't ask for help, just kept working with focused calm, like fixing this stranger's problem was as important as harvesting tomatoes. "You from around here?" the man asked, arms folded, still amazed this barefoot kid was actually changing tire. "Yes, sir. Our farm's just down that lane." The man looked at the nearby fields and barns. "And you folks don't use cars? Phones? Nothing?" Eli smiled politely. "No need to. We get where we're going just fine." There was a long pause. The man watched Eli work, sweat forming on the boy's brow. "Name's Marcus, by the way. Marcus Dunley." Eli nodded. "Pleasure to meet you, sir." He never offered his own name. After 20 more minutes, the job was done. The jack was lowered. The car sat steady on all 4 tires. Marcus looked down, hands on hips. "You didn't ask for anything, not even $1. Eli stood, brushing off his trousers. "Wasn't helping for $1. Marcus paused, eyes narrowing, then wide. Eli looked up, the morning sun glowing behind him like a halo through golden cornstalks. Seemed like the right thing to do. Marcus blinked. No one had said that to him in a long time. Not in boardrooms, not in meetings, not in glass buildings with corner offices. A silence hung between them. One of those rare, human moments that didn't need explaining. Marcus extended his hand. Eli hesitated, then shook it. His grip was firm. "Real. Thank you," Marcus said sincerely. Eli nodded. "You take care." He packed the tools back in the buggy, climbed aboard, and trotted off. Just like that. Marcus stood there, staring down the road long after the cart disappeared. Something about that boy unsettled him, in a good way. It was rare for someone to give so freely, ask for nothing, and vanish without name or praise. Rare enough to be unforgettable. And Marcus Dunley didn't forget. Marcus Dunley sat behind the wheel of his car, the engine humming again like nothing had gone wrong. The GPS came back to life. Signal returned. His phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls, emails, calendar pings. The digital world rushed back into his ears like a dam bursting. But for some reason, he didn't start driving. He sat there, replaying the boy's words over and over. Seemed like the right thing to do. That wasn't how the world worked. Not in Marcus's world. In his world, nothing came without a contract. No favors were free. Everything had a price tag. Even time, even silence, even help. But this boy, this Amish teenager in suspenders and dust-covered boots, had done something people in boardrooms never would. He gave something and walked away without needing to be seen. Marcus finally shifted the gear and pulled out onto the road. But something had shifted in his chest, too. Back in Philadelphia, Marcus's day continued like normal. Meetings, numbers, contracts. He closed a multi-million-dollar deal that afternoon. Handshakes, smiles, champagne glasses clinking. His company made headlines again. Dunley Holdings acquires 3 startups in a single day. Everyone clapped. Everyone praised. But Marcus sat alone in his office that night, the skyline glowing outside his window, thinking about dirt roads, cornfields, and a quiet boy with steady hands. The next day, he couldn't focus. He canceled a meeting halfway through. On the 3rd day, he looked up Lancaster County on a map. By the 4th day, he asked his assistant, "Do we have any projects near Amish communities?" She raised a brow. "You mean for expansion?" "Yeah," he said vaguely. "I want to go back. There's something I need to do." But what exactly, he didn't know. He wasn't sure if it was about the boy, the tire, or the way the kid made him feel. Something had cracked open inside Marcus. A little light had slipped in through that gap, and now he couldn't shut it off. He canceled his weekend golf trip, rented a black SUV, less flashy this time, packed casual clothes, and drove 2 hours back into the heart of Lancaster. The GPS lost signal again. His phone stopped buzzing. He smiled. It felt good. He drove slowly past quiet farms, eyes scanning for the cart, for the boy, for anything familiar. Then he saw it, a roadside vegetable stand, handmade sign, tomatoes stacked in baskets, a wagon wheel leaning against a fence, and there, sitting on a wooden stool with a basket of green beans in his lap, was the boy. Same straw blonde hair, same simple clothes, his sleeves rolled up, dirt under his nails. Focused and calm, Marcus pulled over. This time, he came prepared, not to offer money, but an opportunity. because something told him that boy didn't just fix tires. He had something the world had forgotten how to make. And Marcus Dunley was about to find out what. Eli saw the black SUV coming down the road from a distance. He didn't flinch, didn't stop snapping the ends off green beans. Just kept working with calm, practiced hands like nothing in the world could surprise him. But deep down, he remembered that car. Or rather, the man inside it. Marcus stepped out slowly. No suit this time. Just jeans, a plain button-up shirt, and sneakers that had never touched soil until now. He walked with purpose, but not pride. Eli nodded politely as the man approached. "Evening," Eli said softly. Marcus smiled. "Afternoon, actually." Eli looked up at the sun, squinted. "Reckon you're right." Marcus chuckled. "You remember me?" Eli gave a short nod. "Flat tire. That's me." Silence followed. The wind rustled through cornfields behind them. Somewhere far off, a cow mooed. Marcus stepped closer, pulling something out of his pocket. It was a business card. Clean, white, edged in silver. He held it out. "I run a company in Philadelphia. Finance, real estate, startups, that sort of thing." Eli didn't take the card. "I don't got a phone," he said kindly. Marcus nodded. "Didn't think so. But I came here for more than just giving you a card." Eli looked up again, eyes cautious now. Marcus sat down on the edge of the wooden cart near the tomatoes. "That morning you helped me, it didn't seem like much to you, but it changed something in me." He glanced toward the fields, then back at Eli. "You didn't ask for anything. That stuck with me. You've got something most folks forgot: decency, peace, patience. You reminded me what it means to just be real." Eli didn't speak, just listened. That was his way. Marcus continued. "I built a big company, but it's full of people chasing things they don't even believe in. And I realized I need different kinds of people around me. People who aren't afraid to be good." He paused. "I want to offer you something. A job, not the kind with a tie or a phone. Something different." Eli raised a brow. Marcus leaned forward. "I own land. A lot of it. We're starting a new program. Sustainable farming, education for underprivileged kids, community gardens. It's a pilot project. I want you to be part of it." Eli stared for a long moment. His fingers stopped shelling beans. "You want me," he said slowly, "to come help plant things in the city?" Marcus smiled. "Exactly. I never been to the city. You'd still live here. I'll handle the transport. No pressure to change your ways. Just bring what you already know." Eli looked away, toward the barn in the distance. "My folks, they might not like it. I understand. It's just an offer. Think on it." Marcus stood, placed the card on the wooden bench beside Eli, and stepped back. "No strings," he said gently. "Just a seed. You decide if it grows." Then, just like Eli had once done, Marcus walked back to his car and drove away without asking for anything more. And for the first time in his young life, Eli felt something unexpected bloom inside him. Possibility. That night, dinner was quiet at the Yoder household. The family sat around the long wooden table, candles flickering gently as steam rose from the mashed potatoes and roast beef. Eli's father blessed the food, and the meal began like always, with gratitude and silence. But Eli's thoughts were somewhere else. Somewhere far from the clink of forks and the creak of the old oak chairs. He could still hear Marcus's voice, still see the silver-edged card sitting on the vegetable stand. After the meal, when the dishes were dried and the lamps turned down, Eli sat with his father out on the porch. The night air was cool. Crickets sang in the tall grass. The stars blinked like they were listening. "I met that Englishman again," Eli said finally. His father rocked slowly in his chair. "That's so. He came back. Said he's starting a garden project. In the city. Wants help." The chair creaked louder now. The rocking paused. "He offered you work. Not just work. Said he needs someone who knows how to grow real things. Someone who's not caught up in the mess of it all. His father sighed. World's always trying to pull folks out of the soil. City life don't run like ours. I'd still be here. Said he'd arrange rides. I'd teach. Help folks learn to grow food proper. Kids, mostly. The older man looked out toward the dark fields. And why's he want you? Eli shrugged. Said I reminded him of something. Something he lost. Silence lingered. Only the wind answered. Then his father said, low and steady, son, you were raised with roots. Deep ones. But even a tree sends its seeds far and wide. If the Lord's put this in your path, maybe he means for you to plant something new. Eli looked over, surprised. You don't think it's wrong? His father smiled, a rare softness behind the beard and worn lines. Wrong ain't always about where your feet are. Sometimes it's about where your heart stays. The next morning, Eli returned to the vegetable stand before sunrise. The card was still there, untouched, its corners curling slightly from the morning dew. He picked it up, stared at the name, the number he couldn't call. Then he turned it over. Written in pen were 4 words. If you're ready, come. That same afternoon, a black SUV rolled down the dirt road again. This time, it didn't need to stop and ask. Eli was already waiting by the fence post, bag packed with nothing but a notebook, a jar of pickled beets, and his grandfather's pocket knife. Maple snorted behind him, confused. Just for a few days, Eli whispered, patting her side. The SUV stopped. Marcus stepped out. You sure? Eli nodded. And just like that, a door between 2 worlds creaked open, and the young Amish boy stepped through it. The SUV hummed along the highway, miles of pavement stretching out in front of them like a ribbon to another world. Eli sat in the passenger seat, staring at the blur of cars, billboards, and buildings as they neared the city limits. He had never seen anything like it. The sounds, the size, the sheer speed of it all. His chest felt tight, but he didn't speak. He just held onto the straps of his cloth bag and watched. Marcus glanced at him once in a while. You good? Eli nodded, but said nothing. They finally arrived at a fenced-off plot of land wedged between 2 tall apartment buildings. Empty, dusty, littered with old bottles and scraps of plastic. A forgotten space in the middle of concrete. This is it, Marcus said, stepping out. We're going to turn this into something that matters. Eli followed him out, boots crunching against gravel. The smell of car exhaust lingered, but beneath it all, Eli caught a scent most city folks missed entirely. Earth. Dry, tired, but still alive. A group of kids stood nearby, eyeing him with suspicion. Teenagers mostly. Worn sneakers, hoodies, some holding skateboards. Others with arms crossed like they'd already decided nothing good ever came from strangers. Marcus waved them over. This is Eli. He knows more about soil and growing food than anyone I've ever met. He's not from around here, but he's here for you. The kids exchanged glances. One scoffed. That dude don't even got a phone. Eli stepped forward, looked each of them in the eye, not as a teacher, not as a preacher, just as someone who cared. You ever plant something with your own hands? He asked softly. No one answered. He bent down, ran his fingers through the dusty dirt. Thing is, he continued, plants don't care where you come from. Don't care if you're rich or poor. You treat them right, they grow. You treat them wrong, they die. Real simple. Still no response. But one girl, younger than the rest, stepped forward. Can we grow strawberries? Eli smiled. If the sun's right, soil's willing, and you're patient. A boy in the back mumbled, what about hot peppers? Eli looked up. You got fire in you? Yeah. Then hot peppers it is. And just like that, something began to shift. Over the next few days, Eli showed them how to test the soil, how to pull weeds without hurting roots, how to read the land like it spoke a language of its own. He didn't lecture. He didn't judge. He just worked. And slowly, they followed. They laughed when he showed them how to plant corn in straight rows using just twine and a stick. They stared in awe when he turned compost into dark, rich soil with nothing but scraps and time. They called him Farmer E by the third day. Even the grumpiest kids started showing up early, boots muddy, eyes brighter. Eli felt something he never expected to feel here, in the middle of honking horns and fire escapes. He felt at home, because while the city had forgotten how to grow things, the people hadn't. They just needed someone to remind them. By the end of the second week, the empty lot had transformed. What was once a cracked, lifeless patch of earth now breathed with color and purpose. Rows of vegetables had sprouted, small green shoots reaching for the sun between bricks and glass. The kids, once skeptical and cold, were now showing up with dirt under their fingernails and grins that couldn't be hidden. Eli taught them how to listen to plants, how to feel the soil, how to know when to water and when to wait. He didn't speak much, but when he did, they listened. Not because he demanded it, but because his words carried the weight of truth. One afternoon, a heavy-set man in a white shirt and shiny shoes approached the lot. His tie was crooked, his voice sharp. "What's going on here? Who gave you permission to plant on city property?" The kids froze. Shovels stopped midair. One of them whispered, "That's Councilman Reeves. He shuts everything down." Eli stepped forward slowly, wiping his hands on his trousers. "We're growing food," he said simply. "You're trespassing," Reeves snapped. "This land's been slated for development. You can't just squat and play farmer." Marcus arrived just in time, climbing out of his SUV. He approached calmly, adjusting his sleeves. "Actually, we leased this space under the Urban Renewal Act. Page 42, Section B." Reeves turned, dumbly. "I should have guessed." Marcus nodded. "Guilty as charged. But before you shut anything down, how about we take a walk?" They walked the rows, past kids laughing over tomato vines, past two boys building a trellis from scrap wood, past an old woman from the apartment complex handing out lemonade in mason jars, saying she hadn't seen this much joy in 10 years. By the end of the tour, Reeves had stopped barking orders. His shoulders had relaxed. He even smiled once, barely. "You say this boy's teaching them?" he asked, pointing toward Eli. Marcus nodded. "Best I've ever seen." Reeves sighed. "You got 30 days. Impress the community. If they vote to keep it, it stays. If not, it's gone." Eli looked over at Marcus, unsure. Marcus shrugged. "Sounds fair." Later that evening, one of the teens approached Eli while packing up seeds. "You're not like other adults," the boy muttered. Eli raised a brow. "That a good thing?" The boy smiled. "Yeah, you don't talk down to us. You just show us." Eli nodded. "Things grow better when you don't yell at him." That same night, Marcus found Eli sitting on the edge of a raised bed, staring at the sky. "You've changed something here," Marcus said. "They respect you." Eli didn't look over. Respect don't come from being loud. It comes from showing up. Marcus sat beside him. "You sure you're only 17? Eli finally chuckled. "Son's the same age for all of us. We just grow under it different." And Marcus knew right then. This boy, raised without Wi-Fi or traffic lights, held more wisdom in his silence than most CEOs in a lifetime. And in a world full of noise that made Eli rare and powerful, the 30-day deadline loomed closer, but the energy in the garden lot only grew stronger. Neighbors who had never spoken before now shared watering cans. Parents brought their children to learn how carrots grow beneath the soil. Even the grumpy superintendent from the building next door started dropping off buckets of kitchen scraps for compost. Eli became a quiet leader, never loud, never commanding, but always present, always steady. He showed the kids how to save seeds, how to rotate crops, how to tell the difference between good bugs and bad ones. And when a late summer storm washed out one of the beds, he didn't panic. He just smiled and said, "Rain's just another teacher." and they rebuilt. Together. Word spread beyond the block. Local news stations came with cameras. They wanted interviews, sound bites, drama. But Eli stayed in the background, hands in the dirt, head down. Marcus did most of the talking, but even he pointed back to the boy every time. The soul of this garden, he said on air. That's him. One morning, a woman in a long coat arrived. She looked out of place. Polished shoes, clipboard, no smile. She introduced herself as someone from the Department of Community Affairs. She had come to assess the lot. She walked the rows, sniffed the herbs, checked the compost pile. Finally, she stopped in front of Eli. "You're the one they all talk about," she said. Eli wiped his hands on his pants. "Just helping things grow." She tilted her head. "You think this'll make a difference? In a city like this?" Eli thought for a moment, then pointed to a crooked tomato plant growing near the fence. That one there started bent, rooted in bad soil. Dogs trampled it. Kids kicked dirt on it. But it kept reaching anyway. He stepped closer. "Now look." She followed his gaze. A bright red tomato hung on the vine. Heavy, ripe, proud. "This place won't fix the whole city," Eli said. "But it might fix one block. One kid. One heart." She stared at the tomato for a long time, then wrote something on her clipboard. No smile. No answer. Just a nod. That afternoon, the councilman returned. Reeves walked the lot again, this time slower. Softer. He pulled Marcus aside and spoke quietly, but Eli still heard the words. They voted. Communities for it. 78%. It stays. Marcus grinned. "You sure? City needs more of this," Reeves muttered, walking away. "And more people like that boy." Eli didn't smile. He didn't shout. He just returned to planting spinach with two kids who had once refused to talk to anyone. Because he knew the truth. Some things grow best in broken places. And some of the strongest roots start in silence. The city garden bloomed into something no one had expected. Herbs hung from makeshift trellises. Watermelons bulged under old window screens used for shade. Children who once threw rocks at windows now chased butterflies between rows of cabbage and basil. Grandmothers brought cuttings from their own plants. Strangers became neighbors, and neighbors became friends. And Eli, he still rose early, still worked quietly, still wiped his hands on his trousers and bowed his head before each meal, whether it came from the land or a corner bakery. But something inside him had changed. He wasn't just a boy with dirt under his nails anymore. He had become a bridge. One morning, while showing a group how to build a cold frame for fall lettuce, Marcus pulled him aside. There was a nervous flicker in Marcus's eyes, something rare for a man who made million-dollar deals. "I got a call," he said. "A school. One in North Philly. They heard about what we're doing. Want to turn part of their yard into a teaching garden." Eli wiped sweat from his brow. "Sounds good. They want you to lead it. Pay. Housing. Full-time." Eli didn't respond right away. He just stared at the soil beneath his boots. Marcus continued. "You'd still be close. Could visit home on weekends. But you'd be planting more than vegetables. You'd be planting futures." Eli finally looked up. "Let me talk to my folks." The next weekend, Eli returned to Lancaster. The fields looked the same. Maple neighed softly at the gate. His younger brother ran out to meet him with bare feet and a grin. At supper, Eli shared everything. How the kids changed, how the garden grew, how the city started to feel less scary. His mother wept quietly, a smile hidden in her eyes. His father folded his arms, nodded slowly. "You went out with a shovel, came back with a harvest." Later that night, alone in the barn, Eli stood among the hay bales and whispered a prayer. He wasn't sure what path to take, but he knew the choice wasn't about leaving home. It was about expanding it. The next morning, as he packed his bag again, his father placed something in his hand. It was a folded piece of paper, brittle with age. Inside, a note in his grandfather's writing. The world may not always be ready for a gentleman, but the land always is. Wherever you go, be soil, not stone. Eli folded it carefully and placed it in his pocket. He returned to the city with a calm heart. He would take the job, share the knowledge, build another garden. But Lancaster would never stop being his root. He wasn't leaving one life behind. He was planting the first row in a much bigger field. A year later, the schoolyard garden stood like an oasis in the middle of crumbling bricks and faded graffiti. Where there had once been nothing but cracked pavement and trash, now stood raised beds, buzzing bees, and rows of vegetables bursting with color. Children ran through it during recess. Teachers taught science beside tomato vines. Even the principal stopped wearing ties and started wearing boots. And at the center of it all was Eli. No longer just a quiet farm boy, but a teacher, a planter, a changer of lives. He taught kids how to care for fragile seedlings, and in doing so, they learned how to care for each other. He showed them that waiting for something to grow wasn't weakness, but strength. He didn't need discipline charts or detention slips. He used compost, rain barrels, seed packets, and silence. And it worked. One student, a boy named Darren, had failed every class before that year. Now, he was staying after school just to make sure the kale bed stayed watered. Another girl, whose father had been in prison, brought Eli a sunflower seed she'd found in a candy wrapper. "Can we grow this?" she asked. Eli smiled. "We can try." By the fall, she was the proud guardian of the tallest flower in the yard. Newspapers came again. Awards were offered. Eli accepted none. Instead, he invited Marcus to the harvest celebration. Tables made from pallets, banners drawn by kids, dishes cooked with the very vegetables they'd grown. Marcus stood in the back, watching Eli pass out carrots and smile like he'd never known another way to live. There was something humbling about it, something beautiful. Later that evening, after the food was cleared and the kids had gone home, Marcus approached him. "You're doing more good here than I ever imagined." Eli shrugged. "All I did was plant a seed." Marcus nodded, glancing toward the garden. "Funny how a flat tire led to this." Eli chuckled. Maybe it wasn't flat by accident. Think it was God? Or just life being strange in the right way? They both laughed. As the sun dipped low behind the buildings, Eli walked the rows one more time, brushing his fingers over leaves, checking moisture, straightening a crooked sign that read, "Hope grows here." He looked up at the sky. No stars in the city, but the light still came. From windows, from porch lamps, from faces. And he understood something deep and quiet. Sometimes, the richest soil isn't where you're born. It's where you choose to give your heart.